Hello everyone and welcome to the Culture Cast. I'm Chris Dashew and I am joined by the most good-looking Los Angelino that I know, Mr. Eric Niss.
To be fair, you don't know very many, so...
Listen here, sir. You should take the compliment in stride.
Oh,
you
man.
Son of a bitch.
Hi. Hello. We're back.
Hello. We are back, and we actually took a break for a very specific reason. I was in LA last week.
We attempted to record a podcast, and then, oh boy, I listened back to it afterwards and decided that maybe it wasn't the greatest idea.
So we drank about... between you, me, and John, my friend John, who I road tripped with, we drank 30 beers? Something to that effect?
Yeah, like that day, yeah. Which, now that I think about it, is not that many. It's only 10 beers a person, but there were margaritas also drank and weed smoked. And
yeah, so that was kind of what put it over the top was when I was in Vegas visiting my other friend Mike, who I do the Tales from the Crypt podcast with. I went to a dispensary for the first time. I do smoke. This is the first time I'd ever gone somewhere where they're like, what would you like with it? Would you like an upper or a down, or would you like more of a citrus taste? And it's just I don't know. I get shitty weed, and the shitty weed that I get gets me high. I don't fucking know what you've got here. And so I was like, yeah, give me some upper weed, because most of the weed I've ever smoked has been pretty mellow, sativa, hardcore, makes you groggy, makes you tired. And so I bought a pre-rolled blunt. It's called Durban. The strain was Durban Poison, which is a massive upper weed. It's been essentially compared to weed espresso. And so we smoked that, and I think that coupled with the fact that where you record has no air conditioning really put me over the edge that evening, to the point where you and I looked at one another after starting our live commentary on Truth or Dare, which unfortunately will never see the light of day.
Yeah, there's some comedy gold in there, but... not much. But
you and I were essentially dying. Dying.
After a full day of drinking all day and eating a bunch of tacos and just being general.
It's warm. It was a warm time in LA. It still is, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's much less hot now than it was when you were here, but it's still fucking hot.
Yeah.
As I am recording this, I am sweating.
Yeah. I am not sweating. It was 75 here today. Thank God. So.
Well, you can go to hell.
Yeah. Well, no, if I were to go to hell, I would go to Tonopah, Nevada, where, on the way back on our road trip, my car's tire exploded, which was great. But we did have our tire changed across the street from Ghost Adventure's favorite, the Clown Motel, which is astounding, because not only has the Clown Motel been on Ghost Adventures, but also the big hotel in Tonopah, Nevada, the Mizpah Hotel, which had Wyatt Earp serve as one of the lawmen there for a while. So yeah, that was a rough day, to say the least. 26 hours all the way back from LA to Lincoln. Boy.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of driving. I'm glad I didn't have to do it.
I made it 24 of the 26 hours before I was like, John, you gotta take over.
I'm surprised that it took that long.
Well, I wasn't falling asleep at the wheel. I was becoming less coherent. I guess I can drive about 24 hours in the car is my max, it seems. Because when we drove out, we got... kind of detoured around the wildfires in Colorado, and that ended up adding a fair amount of hours to our initial drive to Las Vegas. So, But LA was cool. I think it further reinforced to me that I hate Santa Monica. No offense, Santa Monica Boulevard, but Santa Monica can suck a dick. I just don't. I don't like it. It's so touristy. It's just they're if you go to Huntington or something, at least there's a beach to go to. You can walk along the beach and get something to drink, but in Santa Monica, it's just everything's removed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you hate the beach anyway.
I know, but it's not that I hate going to the beach, but I have no problem sitting and having a drink and looking at the water. Does that make sense? It's kind of weird. I don't like going onto the beach, but I have no problem having a beer and sitting and feeling the breeze and stuff. That's fine. I don't know. But yeah, Santa Monica, fucking Nesquik milk stop. That's a thing that somebody asked for, not you or I.
Yeah, that was really weird.
But, so that's why we took about a week and a half break, because I was living it up with Eric, and as much as we wanted to do a live podcast, it was also vacation, and about 1% of this is fun, the recording part, and then the 99% of it is not, and as much as I wanted to record something at the same time, I kind of just wanted to hang out, shoot the shit, and enjoy the short amount of time we had to hang out. So, and go to the Tonga Hut and go to Daddy's office, as they would call it.
Oh, Jesus.
So, but in that week and a half that I was gone in LA with Eric, we've effectively crossed the halfway point of the year. This is the down slope of the year now. So we're gonna kind of talk about best movies we've seen so far this year, worst movies we've seen so far this year, biggest kind of news this year. I mean, there's a couple things just happened we should probably talk about since everybody else has talked about it, and kind of what we're excited for the rest of the year. So, before we get to the movies, I think we should probably talk about something that I think every movie podcast is talking about. James Gunn getting fired from Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Well, yeah, and there is a little
massive
bit of
statement
extra
issued by the cast today.
Yeah, today. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and the cast essentially said, we want James Gunn rehired. The cast, all of the major cast members, and by major cast members, I mean Chris Pratt, Bradley Cooper, Sean Gunn, Vin Diesel, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Karen Gillan, Michael Rooker, and Pom Klementieff, which, by the way, that's all of the major. That is the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Yeah, and there's no reason to read the full statement. You can check it out online. But in a shortened version of the statement is, look, everybody changes. He made a mistake. Guardians of the Galaxy is about, supporting one another even when we're assholes, which, again, the jokes he made were in poor taste, but I would stand by myself if I were to tell a joke like that 10 years ago. At the same time, humor isn't for everyone. I mean, humor is meant to be offensive. There is humor that is PG, and then there's humor that's not. I mean, George Carlin's comedy wasn't exactly PC.
Yeah, but I mean, George Carlin was a comedian, not the helm of a massive IP that a huge corporation headed by a mouse was in charge of.
But to be fair, he also didn't make the statements when that was his position.
That's true. And he also apologized for these statements years ago.
6 years ago, which for those of us who are counting would have been right around the time he got the job to direct Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, So
he apologized, he deleted them 6 years ago. Fast forward 6 years, all of a sudden, and I don't think we could use this term, harsh enough. Some assholes go and dig up these tweets and pass them around to the media. And I don't like talking politics, because I think it's just a top that keeps spinning, it goes nowhere.
Yeah.
The people that did this were hardcore right-wing leaning. And not even leaning. One of the guys is a known Pizzagate conspiracy theorist, which I love a good conspiracy theory as much as the next guy, but Pizzagate even for me is a little stupid. And so it smacks very much of someone with a hatred of someone else doing this. It's character assassination, that's what they would call it. And they got the exact outcome that they were looking for. They got James Gunn fired because James Gunn had been vocal about, take your pick, Donald Trump, anything associated with Donald Trump, Roseanne Barr. James Gunn has been vocal on Twitter, and the people that are vocal on Twitter are normally the ones that are targeted first because they're easy targets.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what happened. These tweets were unearthed, and James Gunn was sold down the river by his own tweets from a decade or more ago. And Disney reacted in a way that I would say is characteristic of Disney, but I don't know if we say that because technically Disney's never made a decision like this before.
Yeah, it was something that happened really fast too. I didn't even know about any of this until a day later because I don't care about the news or Twitter or any of that shit. So
which you shouldn't because Twitter is fucking atrocious, as shown by what happened is here.
Very toxic. So I don't know. I guess I have to go and delete all those baby molesting jokes that I made 6 months ago.
Well, and again, the jokes are clearly comedic. I'm not going to defend them on their content, but the context. If you're putting #unromantic movie titles in front of a very blue joke about the movie Three Men and a Baby, it's clearly a joke. Again, is it going to offend some people? Of course. There's comedy that is meant to shock and offend. And I think the issue here is he's also not a comedian.
Yeah.
If he was a comedian, people would probably be like, okay, who gives a shit? To some extent. And that's the other thing.
Sure.
Unlike what Roseanne Barr did, which was target a person specifically, a specific person by name, James Gunn just kind of, it was just, these are just kind of like, I don't know. It wasn't directed at anyone.
Bad jokes, yeah.
Yeah.
They're just bad jokes in poor taste. That's it.
And again, I'm not one to judge a joke. Some of them were funny, but the problem is I have a pretty fucking dark sense of humor. I know you do too. I recounted some of the jokes to you, and you and I laughed about them because they are funny, but 90% of the people in the world are not going to find those jokes funny. And I guarantee you that 95% of the people that go see Guardians of the Galaxy probably don't. Which is unfortunate considering how the movies that James Gunn made are like the antithesis of Disney's. Slither, Super, those movies, if you've seen them, are super fucked up. No pun intended. Yep. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy is a pretty watered down James Gunn that we're getting. It's a very children-friendly James Gunn.
Yeah, it's more of a... Yeah, I don't know. They're more mature movies made for a wider audience, instead of like the, shock and awe stuff that's, aimed at people like you and me,
It's just one of those things where they knew who they were hiring, and they hired him anyways. Right. And now they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. They're trying, we didn't know. It's like, but you did know. These tweets aren't new.
Disney knew about this stuff. Like, they knew. They knew about it, 10 years ago. They knew when they hired him or whatever. Like,
and you can't tell me that Disney they don't vet him like they vet fucking vice presidential candidate choices at this point. Like, it's Disney. They vet everybody for everything.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
I mean, this is the same company that made Song of the South, and in the Aristocats was extremely racist, and in Lady and the Tramp there were two Siamese cats that are very clearly racist. But again, Disney has changed as a company, so I don't hold that against them.
Can cartoons be racist?
I mean, yeah. But again, also, it's also like, this was made in a different time. So it's like, it's like looking back and being like, well, this wasn't necessarily this hasn't aged well. Just like his jokes. His jokes haven't aged well. Because 10 years ago, Twitter was kind of like the Wild West. Like, you could do whatever the hell you wanted. Twitter was new 10 years ago. I remember I had a Twitter. I had a Twitter in 2008. That was when I went to college. And, I never tweeted anything like that, but if I were trying to kind of get more into, the comedy thing or maybe try acting, there was nothing to say I wouldn't have done something like that. Any one of us might have. And to be fair, you and I have probably tweeted stuff that's offensive to someone, because in this day and age, everyone can be offended by anything. And that, I think, is...
I've probably tweeted offensive shit, within the last, 6 months. But
that's my point.
I don't even think about what I tweet. I just say, I'm like, oh, man, my balls itched really bad today. I need to tell the world about how bad my balls itch today. And then I just say some shit, and then, that's it. I don't know, good or bad or in between or stupid or whatever. That's just, it kind of is what it is.
But again, I think
who cares?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, is there is a lot of, and this is, again, not a completely nonpartisan take, and you and I know, because we're friends outside of the podcast, so we talk about non-movie stuff, but this is kind of a societal thing. Society as a whole, and I know that, there's fucking snowflakes, everybody gets offended. Everybody does get more easily offended now. It's actually a problem to some extent, because no one can make jokes anymore about anything. Everything is off limits, and everything is offensive, and everyone can get angry about anything, and anyone can become an internet meme and lose their job and everything else.
Yeah, that's true. And what's funny is, the term snowflake coined, or more recently, sort of reappropriated by the far right people to sort of make fun of people on the left who get offended and stuff. These people who are using the term snowflake are just as big as snowflakes as anybody else. They're getting offended by shit just as hard as anybody else does. It's not at this point, it's not a left or a right thing. It's just everybody, seemingly everybody. What it really is it's a really highly vocal minority of the population that's getting, hyper offended or is just trolling, or whatever.
Or in these Yahoo's case, they're character assassinating people because they can.
Yeah, which is I don't know.
Like, these people have nothing better to do? Like, that's what I don't understand. The same thing happened with Dan Harmon. I mean, Dan Harmon is a piece of shit. No offense to him, but he is an admitted asshole. Like, he's not someone I would want to be around.
Yeah, he's definitely, I mean, there's been a lot of stuff that have come out about Dan Harmon, but he's always been very quick to be like, yeah, I know that this sucks, and I know that, like, I've been a piece of shit or I've been an asshole in the past, and I know I've done things that I'm not proud of. And he comes out right away and he admits to it and he apologizes for it. There was some stuff that came out earlier this year where, like, a former employee of his or whatever was talking about, like, not necessarily like sexual harassment, but like maybe like a form of sexual harassment. Right. Like, he used his sort of like position of power over this woman to put her in situations that maybe she wasn't super comfortable with. Details were sort of scarce or whatever. And then when that happened, like, he came out right away and he was like, yeah, I know exactly what she's talking about, and I was a total asshole, and like, I apologize for that shit. Like,
and you see the people that outlive that are people like Dan Harmon and Aziz Ansari.
But if those guys can outlive that, I don't see why James Gunn can't outlive that. Now, well, because Aziz Ansari and Dan Harmon were not hired by Disney, and
me personally,
Adult Swim is a company. At this point, I would be a little bit surprised if he didn't, but I'd also wouldn't be surprised at all if he didn't. Just because, you know, Disney's a big company. And like, they're going to piss people off either way. They're going to piss off a lot of people if they rehire him. All the people, there's a lot of people that had no idea about any of this stuff or whatever. I'm sure there was a bunch of fucking moms and children and whatever, people who got really, really angry when they found out that like these tweets were a thing. And they're like, oh my God, my kids watch these movies that this fucking like asshole made or whatever. Like, this is unforgivable or whatever. But I mean, I don't know. Who cares about those people? That's my whole thing, is like, you're gonna piss people off. Like, if you're gonna piss people off, piss the people off who are gonna be offended no matter what. Like,
I'm with you.
Like, if they rehired him, there's gonna be a huge group of the population who care about this issue, which I don't know how many people actually give a shit. I barely give a shit, but just like the fact that it's like a thing that we have to even talk about, or a thing that actually happens in our society, is what scares me more than anything else.
It sets a really terrifying precedent.
It does, yeah. And it sets a really terrifying precedent from like the biggest company on the face of the earth. So the biggest entertainment company on the face of the earth.
Because if you don't think Disney is the biggest entertainment company on the face of the earth, I don't know what universe you're living in.
I don't know what movies you watch, yeah. Because if you watch any superhero movie or, you know, fucking Star Wars movie.
If you watch anything that's not Harry Potter, essentially. Anything that's Harry Potter or DC. And no one's watching DC like anyways.
A24 movies, which I think we can all agree we can all live without watching for a while, probably. But yeah, I don't know. It just sucks that this is even a thing that we have to talk about, and it just pisses me off. And I hope that he gets rehired, whether or not they put him on fucking double secret probation or whatever. Like, I don't care. I think that it was a total mistake for them to just like knee-jerk reaction fire him immediately, because
it was a very reactionary
thing. This stuff. Yeah, it's an extremely reactionary thing, but it was reaction, and it was something that they should have never done. It should have been like, if they would have fired him after like a week or like 2 weeks or something like that, then I would have been like, oh, they must have like talked about it and like worked some stuff out and just been like, at least then that gives them the appearance that they like weighed their options and went like, then it maybe seems like, oh, maybe these tweets aren't the worst of it. Or maybe, you know, I don't know, maybe there's something else there, like the relationship between James Gunn and Disney, like, you know, is not great in the first place. And then they have all these other excuses, you know, to get rid of him or whatever. But this just seemed like total bullshit. Like, you know, somebody came out with all these tweets or whatever, and they're like, look how big of an asshole James Gunn is. What are you going to do, Disney? And then Disney saw it and just went, oh, fuck. Yeah, we don't know that guy. Fuck that guy. You're right. He is an asshole. We just fired him.
They went fuck.
Like,
they went, oh, fuck this again. Because, again, like we've been saying, they knew about this 6 years ago. And I guarantee you 6 years ago, someone told them about it, or he mentioned it to them, or something. And they hired him
anyways. They're the biggest
anyways.
entertainment company in the world. Like,
They hired him anyways.
that they had people just scrub all the way back into his past. Disney knows more about James Gunn than James Gunn knows about James Gunn. And the fact that, like, I don't know, the fact that they didn't come out with a statement or anything like ahead of time before they fired him. They came out with a statement when they fired him and just said that, you know, these statements are indefensible, you know, and not at all like in
line with Disney's corporate
in line
ethics
with our
image.
Yeah, some bullshit like that, which, like, okay, you can say that, but then you can also say, but he is not this person anymore. Like, yeah, it was just like a lawyery PR statement that, like, somebody was like, oh shit, we got to fire James Gunn. Somebody get like a PR team on the line or whatever. We have to make a statement. And so, yeah, it's just like the most disingenuous statement and the most like cold, like we don't give a shit about anybody thing like that could have happened, you know, which sucks. And then, of course, everybody who actually knows James Gunn, all of the people closest to him, you know, his brother, his, you know, friends who are filmmakers and actors and everybody has come out. And nobody is saying, like, come on, guys, they were just jokes. Everybody is saying, like, yeah, he made some jokes that were really bad and not funny at all. And we're not here to defend his jokes. We're just here to defend him as a person. Like, he made a mistake. He made a mistake joking about some shit that he should not have been joking about, especially in a public forum like Twitter, where even if he deleted those fucking tweets, they're still going to exist forever somewhere because somebody's going to screen grab that shit.
Which is exactly what happened.
And so it's
like,
like,
on top of everything else, would Disney have hired him if he had ever actually had child molestation accusations leveled against him? Really?
Well, and that's the whole other thing is then, like, the people who have come out after the tweets were, you know, leaked or whatever, not leaked or
re-leaked,
whatever you want to fucking call it. There were people like Ted fucking Cruz, the Paul fucking Titian, Ted goddamn Cruz, that fucking stupid fat piece of shit, like, just comes out and just says, like, oh, we need to investigate James Gunn for all of these child molestation, like he's admitting to being a child molester. And I just want to fucking strangle his fucking stupid ass and go, these are jokes. They're not good jokes. They're not funny jokes, a lot of them, but they're fucking jokes, dude. Get your fucking head out of Donald Trump's ass. Like, ah!
Well, I don't even think it's a Donald Trump thing. Just get your head out of your own ass.
Get his head out of whoever's ass it's in. I don't care whose ass it's in. He's kissing somebody's ass, and he needs to get his fucking tongue out of their colon. That's some shit like where you're just pandering to people. Like you're.
Oh no! It very much is pandering to a specific set of folks.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, I need to try and get reelected. I need to seem like I'm tough on, you know, these left wing dickholes or whatever.
No, these left wing child molesters.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, we do know a couple things about Ted Cruz. He loves, was it retweeting or liking porn on Twitter?
So what?
Well,
that's what Twitter's for.
I know, that's my point. So what is right, but apparently not.
Yeah, so what for us, but like anybody, his base or the people that he's pandering to are like, how could you do that, Ted? How could you do that, Ted Cruz? I'm sorry that I'm using like a southern accent. That's like a little bit.
To be fair, it is Texas.
So how could you, Ted Cruz?
How could you look at pornographic material? Oh yeah.
Everybody's like, okay, whatever. He likes boobs. Everybody likes boobs. You can't use the same logic with James Gunn because nobody likes raping babies. I mean, I guess some people probably do, but those people should be, you know, drawn and quartered. But that's neither here nor there.
I can guarantee you, James Gunn
about
is not
baby
raping babies.
This isn't about baby rape. This is about free speech and people basically being fired because they're accused of being an asshole in the court of public opinion, which means absolutely nothing because people's opinions are bullshit, especially on the internet, because all of that shit is just made up. People just make shit up on the internet. They don't there's no fact checking. There's no context. There's no anything. Like, people just throw shit around. The internet is for mudslinging. And if you get any of your like important news or facts or whatever from the internet, stop, because it's all fucked. It's all stupid.
Oh,
if you don't fact check yourself,
that's for sure.
if you don't fact check the information that you're getting from like multiple sources,
that's no. Just use multiple sources. That's all. Just use multiple sources.
Yeah, don't rely on whatever news.
Don't use Fox News. Don't use MSNBC. Don't use CNN. Don't use them solely. Like, really.
Don't use BuzzFeed.
Oh, well.
Is BuzzFeed still a thing?
BuzzFeed is the best, dude. I don't know if you know this, but see how many raw eggs you can stuff into this tuba and we'll tell you what character from Harry Potter you are.
You
know what? I saw something similar to that.
Which character from Harry Potter was?
I saw something like that on BuzzFeed today, and I wondered who's writing these things and whether or not if Thanos ever actually snapped his fingers, they would be taken out. Because my thinking is just like, this is the worst. Like, this is the way people get their news. This is the reason things like this happen. Because it's a clickbaity title. That's all it is. It's clickbait. It's clickbait. If it had said James Gunn got fired for making insensitive tweets, that's one thing. But instead, James Gunn gets fired for insinuating he rapes children. It's a way better headline.
Now that I know that I would for sure be Hagrid from Harry Potter.
Right.
I just finished that. No magical powers for me, but I'll...
Hey, Hagrid had magical powers. He had that umbrella. His umbrella was his wand.
Vaguely magic.
His umbrella was his wand.
Vaguely magical, yeah.
Well, so us kind of ranting and raving about James Gunn aside, let's talk...
We've already been in a heated discussion for like 30 minutes about this, which is about as long as we really wanted to go for this whole podcast. But, whatever. We're fired up about this topic because A, it's a filmmaker that I like, and B, and more importantly, B, what the fuck, world? Specifically,
it just puts everyone and anyone who's in our position, a content creator, it puts them in a bad spot.
I don't know. I don't care. Disney's never going to hire me, and if they ever were stupid enough to hire me, then I don't know.
Well, you'd hope that they'd make you delete your tweets before you got hired to begin with anyways.
Oh my God. If Disney ever was like, hey, we want to hire you to do something, I would just scrub everything from the internet. I would just, I don't exist. As far as the internet knows, I would just, yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Otherwise, I would be fucked. So fucked. Not in the fun way.
Not in the spit in my mouth kind of way.
Yeah, you're right. Not in that kind of way at all.
Not in that way at all. So,
nope.
Let's talk a little bit about movies as opposed to directors. So, let's just do 3 movies. Let's talk about our three biggest categories. So, what has been your favorite movie so far in 2018? Because I know what mine is pretty much just resoundingly.
Yeah, mine's Annihilation.
Same here. The best movie I've seen this year.
It's
Infinity War is close, but Infinity War is for different reasons. But Annihilation,
it's a different kind of movie.
Yeah, Annihilation, I had no pretense going into that movie.
Yeah, Annihilation was amazing. I'm really happy that I knew like next to nothing about like the story or anything like going into it, and it's just an amazingly well-made movie. It's like it's the kind of movie that's like right up my alley. It's the kind of shit that I am into. Like it's got sci-fi and horror, and
it's weird sci-fi,
totally
which
weird.
Is great.
Yeah, it's totally weird. Visually amazing. The soundtrack and everything is awesome. If you still haven't seen it yet and you haven't heard us gush about this movie, to death enough yet, then fucking go see it. What the fuck is wrong with you? And
on top of everything else, it is an extremely divisive film. I have a couple friends that really loved it as much as I did, and then I have a same amount of friends that really hated it. So
yeah, I haven't met a lot of people who didn't like it. I think the few people who I've met who didn't like it are people that I would not expect to like it. Like they're my dumb friends. They're the friends, like they're not stupid. They're just not like when it comes to entertainment, they don't want the highbrow, highly intellectual stuff. Like they just want to turn the brain off, watch things explode, big action sequences, funny jokes. Like that's the kind of stuff that they like. And I like the stuff that's challenging and weird and makes you think and makes you go, what?
That's my biggest takeaway. Is it's a movie that's very much not a film that should have had any reason to be in theaters.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where I'm really glad that it was in theaters, and I'm really glad I got to see it in theaters. But we live in a time now where like those movies are so few and far between, and I think that's part of the reason why I loved it so much. Because it's really rare to see a movie like that, you know? We've definitely like equated it to Alien. We've equated it to 2001: A Space Odyssey. We've, you know, and those were all movies
Runner,
that were like
Thing.
Yeah, these are all movies that were, I mean, besides The Thing, because The Thing, and also I guess Blade Runner also.
No, but they were fucking trash when they came out.
Well, yeah, well, they weren't trash when they came out. They were the same movie when they came out, except for Blade Runner, which now has like 4.
No. I'm talking about no. The Thing was like
box office.
Critically like trash.
Yeah, box office. Box office, everybody shat on a lot of those movies. Some of these movies got totally shit on, and then some of these movies got totally praised. And it's just an interesting thing about like time and place, and like if we're ready for this type of shit, you know?
It's also the right audience seeing it. The longer something is out, the more of an audience gets to see it.
Yeah.
That's the thing with Blade Runner, right? Is like, you know, when it came out, people were expecting one thing, got another. You know, leave Annihilation out there into the world and see kind of what happens. I think it'll be looked upon positively the longer it's out.
I don't see a situation where it doesn't age well.
Yeah, me either. What has been your least favorite movie that we've watched this year? And I'm talking just about new movies, because we've done a lot of other movies, but I'm talking just about new movies. Yeah. Least favorite new movie.
I know that I hated a couple of things, like a lot, and I just can't bring myself to remember what they are. I don't know. What did you hate? What was your least favorite?
Least favorite movie so far of the year is probably Red Sparrow.
Oh yeah, that movie was no
Pacific
fun
Rim
at all.
Pacific Rim Uprising, which we didn't talk about. But those two movies were. Pacific Rim Uprising is fucking bad. Like, really, really, really bad. So stupid and so bad. But I think it has to go to Red Sparrow, because that movie is just, that may be one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's so bad.
It's really boring, and then it's also, like, on top of that, just, like, an insanely, like, horrible downer of a movie that just makes you feel bad for watching it. So it's like, not only are you bored and, like, kind of don't care about anything, but then it, like, throws it in your face by saying, like, by just trying to, like, shock you with, like, sheer, like, brutal sexual violence that, like, is there for a reason that I don't know about. I mean, I guess I know why it's there, but it's like, it's an unearned, it's everything about that movie that anybody is like, oh my God, but they did this, or like, you know, they shed some light on the plight of the female in a man's, you know, like world or whatever. I don't know. It just, none of it felt earned. And that movie just sucked. It wasn't good. But I think I'm going to have to give it to Pacific Rim Uprising. That movie was really bad, and I really didn't like it. And I think I hate it even more because I really liked the first one. At least with Red Sparrow, there's like no previous context that I had, and I'm just like, well, it's just a bad movie. But then Pacific Rim Uprising is like, you had a movie that you could have built off of that, like, I guess is, I mean, Pacific Rim's not the fucking greatest movie in the goddamn universe.
But the original Pacific Rim is way better. But it's fun.
But the original Pacific Rim is just like fun. It's just like this cool like love letter to kaiju movies from Guillermo del Toro. And it's just like awesome to watch. Like I fall asleep to that movie all the time just because I'm like, I don't know what to watch. I'm going to throw on a big dumb action movie. That's the biggest, dumbest action movie ever. But it's like also not terrible. And this other movie just like took all the things that were good about it and just went like, nah, we don't need those things. And so it just spent like 2 hours just like pummeling you with the worst, like it felt like a knockoff of a Transformers movie, which is what I was worried that the first movie would be like, and it wasn't, and I was super stoked about that. And this movie was everything that movie, like I was afraid that the first movie was going to be. So yeah, Pacific Rim Uprising is definitely the worst movie I've seen this year, or my least favorite. Yeah, just don't watch it. It's bad.
What was the biggest disappointment for you so far this year? Because I have mine.
Ant-Man?
Oh God, fuck you. Sure. I mean,
no, I don't
mine
know.
is Deadpool 2. I mean, that movie is just... It wasn't any more than I thought it was going to be. It was pretty much just the same movie.
Yeah, I don't know if that was my biggest disappointment. Like, I was a little bit disappointed in it, but also, like, what do you expect? I don't know. The first movie, like, hit in such, like, a special way when it came out. And the first movie, like, rewatching it now, like, I realize is not a great movie. Like, it's good, but it was, like, a right place, right time thing.
It's an important movie because of the way it got made.
Yeah, the way that it got made and the timing in which it finally came out and everything. Because, like, at that point, like, everybody, like, superhero-itis was starting to really set in. Like, everybody's really, like, fatigued from all the Marvel movies and DC movies and everything. And then you get this other movie that comes out that basically shits on all of them, is very self-aware, while being a pretty decent superhero movie itself. And everybody was like, fuck, yeah, that's awesome. You can still do cool things with superhero movies. The problem with Deadpool 2 is, instead of trying to push that even further and do something even more different and even newer now, they just ended up like doing the same thing again, slightly differently. I don't know. It didn't evolve enough for it to like be as good as the first one. But I don't know. Disappointing, maybe, sure. Biggest disappointment? I don't think so. I still had fun watching the movie, so.
Yeah, again, it was just okay. I don't know. I expected more, and maybe that's my fault.
Yeah. I don't know what my biggest disappointment of the year is. I knew that Pacific Rim Uprising was going to be bad, so I wasn't disappointed at how bad it was.
A Star Wars movie.
No. Actually, surprisingly,
that was better than I thought
it was going to be.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah,
better.
that was the biggest surprise of the year for me, was how much I liked Solo. I don't know if that's going to hold up on repeat viewings because I've only seen it the one time, but I don't know. Biggest disappointment of the year is trying to go see Mission Impossible Fallout last night and not being able to use my Movie Pass because
the true biggest disappointment of the year is that Movie Pass shit the bed, and it looks like Movie Pass is going to be gone sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
so.
I'm definitely contemplating canceling my subscription to it sooner rather than later so that I don't end up paying another month for a service that doesn't exist.
Well, a service you can't even use.
Yeah, and they released a statement today that said going forward for the next few weeks, at least for the next like several like big budget releases that are coming out, like you won't be able to use MoviePass. So you won't be able to use MoviePass for Christopher Robin or The Meg.
So we can't use our MoviePass for anything. So, okay. So what's the point of having it?
I don't know. Now we really have to go see movies that we really don't care about because those are the only movies we're allowed to use the MoviePass on. God.
Yeah.
Well,
but I mean, let me put it this way about MoviePass. It will have done something that hopefully will pay dividends in the industry, but I don't think it survives what it started.
No. I think a different model that is similar to their model will probably come out like soon within maybe
there already
like 6 months
is. I mean,
a year.
AMC has one. There are other companies that are doing what they're doing. It's just those companies are charging more.
Right.
And they're not offering the ability
have to make money
every day. They're offering like a set amount of tickets per month.
Yeah, which is fine for most people. How many movies does a regular average person go see a month? Like maybe one? Maybe? Yeah, I don't know.
That's the thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, even I don't go see more than like maybe one movie a week.
That's my biggest, honest to God, biggest disappointment is MoviePass is just, dumb. Just really dumb, poorly managed. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
What?
Well, then on the
Go ahead.
flip side, with the biggest surprise of the year, would yours be Solo also?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, nothing really, surprised me that much. Solo, I guess?
Well, I mean, just like...
Solo, that it wasn't a complete and utter train wreck?
Yeah, it was one of those things where you're like, man, we both talked for months about how we were not excited about this movie, about how it was going to suck. And then it wasn't bad.
It was just It was It wasn't much of anything, to be perfectly honest.
But it's better than it's sucking.
That's true. It's true. What, looking towards the end of the year, what are you looking forward to the most?
Predator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Predator is like the only movie that I care about right now. I'm like, yeah, Predator's going to be awesome. Halloween and Predator. The Meg. I've been missing gigantic, stupid shark movies in my life, so I'm excited for that. I don't know.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse looks cool.
Yeah, that does look cool.
Nick Cage as Spider-Man.
He's Spider-Man?
He is going to be one of the Spider-Mans, yes.
He is?
Yeah, he's going to be playing Spider-Man Noir.
Nicolas Cage?
Yes, Nick Cage.
Like the only Nick Cage.
Yes, the singular Nick Cage will be playing Spider-Man Noir in the upcoming Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse film.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Oh, Mandy, whenever that comes out. That is a Nicolas Cage movie that I've been seriously needing to see since I heard about it earlier this year when it was at Sundance.
What are you not looking forward to?
Aquaman.
Yeah, me too. Aquaman for sure. Also, really not looking forward. I don't know. I like those.
The Nun looks so stupid.
I like the Conjuring universe stuff, so
I don't. I hate it.
Well, I mean, it's probably going to be better than Venom.
Oh yeah, Venom. I'm like kind of on the fence about. Like I'm not excited, but I'm also like not excited for it either.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to keep my expectations for Venom really low, so that like when I see it and it's better than I thought that it was going to be, I'll be like, oh, tight, nice, or it'll just be stupid because I don't know, whatever. It's Venom.
It looks really bad.
You know what I'm more excited for, though, than anything, and then I'm a little bit bummed that we've already got a trailer for it, and the trailer shows a lot, is Glass. That's not necessarily this year. It's the very beginning of next year, but still.
I'm hopeful.
I'm hopeful, too. Like, this is a very well put-together universe so far that took 2 movies spanning nearly 20 years to, like, come together. And the fact that we're getting a 3rd movie in this sequel, like, so quickly is a little bit disconcerting. But also, like, I don't know, strike while the iron's hot, I guess. You know, get your shit out there while you can get it out there.
Well, yeah, I'm hopeful. I mean, this is kind of going to be the big test for Shyamalan if he can continue making films that are worth watching as opposed to films like The Happening.
Yeah, The Happening's not great. A fun drinking game movie for sure, but not a great movie.
The Happening is real bad.
Yeah, it's a shame to see John Leguizamo in such a shitty movie.
Yeah, and almost like he's not in shitty movies, right?
Never, not one.
You liar.
Except for that one.
You liar. Fungus Among Us, dude. Trust it.
Trust the fungus.
Well, Eric, where can people find you when they're not listening to us talk on the Culture Cast?
You cannot find me. Don't find me. There will be no baby raping jokes except for on this podcast. This is the only place that I exist on the internet now, unless you stumble across me on Tinder, in which case kindly swiped to the left.
And you can follow Eric on Twitter at Tychomagnetics. You can follow me on Twitter at PapaStash22. You can follow...
the first 21 of them were taken, I guess.
Yeah, right? The only one that was worth taking was taken, so I gave it 22. You can follow the CultureCast on Twitter at CultureCast. We don't have a whole lot set up yet, but we're getting there. And as always, head on over to culturecast.com where you can listen to the CultureCast. Download the Spreaker app and listen to us on there. We're also on all podcatcher apps, both iOS and Android. Other than that, make sure to check out the next Culture Cast. And big thanks as always to Eric and Wavoka and my good buddy Justin Scott for the intro outro music, and we'll catch you on the next Culture Cast.
You know how we do, I'm just 2-step, drink in my right hand, phone in my other hand, getting to the money, oh man, 2-step, posted with the crew, yeah. You know how we do.
Hey, 2-stepping, know what I'm saying? 1, 2, 1, 2. Benjamin, aka the Black T, you know what I'm saying?